Welcome, and this is the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, your number one source of information, education, and entertainment. For honest, responsible, and dependable information, we stand supreme. To stay focused, inspired, and relaxed, choose green. Ekabo, and welcome to the Ifagbemiro Show. To open the show, I will do the Iba. Open Ifu Olorun, Iba Olodumare, Oba Ajiki, Mojiloni, Mo Wogun Meriaye, Iba Ila Orun, Iba Iwo Orun, Iba Ariwa, Iba Gusu, Iba Oba Igbalie, Iba Orun Oke, Iba Baba, Iba Yeye, Iba Atiwo Orun, Ibashe Igungun Kiki Igungun, Ibashe Ori, Ori Inu, Ipori Atiwo Orun. Today, before I go into today's lesson, I'm going to read the Iba in English. Gratitude to the owner of the realm of the ancestors. I respect the Creator, the King, who we praise first. I awake today, I behold the four corners of the world. I respect the powers of the East, I respect the powers of the West, I respect the powers of the North, I respect the powers of the South. I respect the King of the seasons of the earth, I respect the invisible realm of the mountain, I respect the wisdom of the ancestral fathers and mothers, I respect all things that live in the invisible realm. I respect the mediums of the ancestors who praise the ancestors. I respect the self, the inner self, and the higher self, which brings the blessing of the invisible realm. Okay? And let it be so, let it be so, let it be so. All right, today we are going to discuss something that is very, very important to all Ifa Orisa devotees. And for persons who are not devotees, this is an opportunity to gain some insight as to some of the essential things that one should know if one is even interested in Ifa Orisa. All right, today I'm going to read a document that was written by a Babalawo by the name of Ifalei. All right, apparently during a session, someone asked this Babalawo a question concerning what is divination and what is the importance of doing a dafa or idafa, some people call it. All right. So I'm going to read his response to that question. All right. So remember, this response is coming from Baba Ifalei and not from Ifagbemiro Adifonso Rishabem. All right. I am asked, what is a reading, etc.? This is what I responded. Well, here I am back online, took my shower, etc. Now, what does an Ifa reading entail? Firstly, an Ifa reading would tell you things that perhaps you should have known from the time you could have speak. Let me explain. In Yoruba culture, when a child is born, after a certain amount of days, the Babalawo, that is what I am called, and this is Baba Ifa, comes and does Dafa or an Ifa reading for the child. This will tell the parents, etc., what is this child's destiny, why they came to earth. It will tell them things that this child need to avoid, that is referred to as taboos, such as certain foods, etc. And the parents, relatives, etc., will begin to groom, so to speak, this child to fulfill their destiny. This child will continue to get readings done during his or her life to keep them in line with their destiny. In Yoruba thought, we all came here from Orun, which could be referred to as heaven, and knew our purpose for coming. However, when we pass through the birth canal, we forget, and hence the Dafa will tell us. The purpose for an Ifa reading again is to put and guide you on the path of your destiny, which you chose before coming to earth. Now, the thing about an Ifa reading is this: before man was established, so to speak, on earth, there were what is called Iromoles. These Iromoles are primordial beings. That in essence came to establish and make the earth habitable for humans. In their sojourn here, they also experienced all that humans would experience. And what is recorded is known as Odu. There are 256 Odus. Again, Odu can possibly be described as the Iromoles. They experienced all there is to experience in their experience. They experienced the positive as well as the negative. And what was left for us, or recorded, so to speak, were their experiences, what they did to overcome obstacles, also what they did to have what would be called a good, balanced life. I said there are 256 Odus, but with each Odu, there are over 1,000 what we call verses that expound on their experiences. The verses can be a few lines long or pages long, depend on what was the experience. So in Odu, an example would be the following Odu. In this particular verse of the Odu, Miller, who is called Ifa, wanted to marry a particular one. However, his enemies, etc., conspired against him. But in this verse of Odu, we see what he did to overcome the situation. Well, of course, we're going to now have a very interesting Odu about Miller and his intention to marry Naro. Ijeri spreads and spreads until it enters the tongue. Was the one who cast Ifa for Miller when he was going to marry Naro, child of the sea goddess. They said Miller should sacrifice two cocks, one hen, a rat, a fish, 2 bags, I would think that is bags of cowries or money, and 3 shillings, so that he might be able to marry her. He made the sacrifice. When Orunmila went to the sea goddess' house, he took 2 bags with him. When he arrived, Eshu blinked his eye at him, making him very handsome. When Naro saw Orunmila, she said he was the one she should marry. The sea goddess said all the 400 deities had wanted Naro, but she had refused them. Where then could Orunmila take Naro to escape their anger? Orunmila said he would take her away. Then the sea goddess began to be hospitable to Orunmila. She said that all the 400 deities had wanted to marry Naro, but finally she had found someone she was willing to marry. When the 400 deities saw that Naro loved Orunmila, they were angry. They got ready to dig a pit on the right side. They dug an abyss on the left side, and in front they dug a hole as deep as heaven is high. When Eshu saw this, he took the 2 cocks that Orunmila had sacrificed. He threw one into the pit, one on the right, and it closed. He threw the other into the abyss on the left, and it closed. He threw the hen into the hole in front, which was as deep as heaven is high, and it closed. The 400 deities had already told the ferryman at the river, Orunmila had to cross, that if a diviner traveling with a woman should come to them, they must not ferry them across. When Orunmila was approaching the ferry, he put his wife Naro inside one bag, and he put the other bag over her head. He tied her up and carried her. When he came to the river, the ferryman did not know this was the diviner of whom the 400 divinities had spoken, and paddled them across the river. When Orunmila arrived at the market in Ife, he put the bags down and untied them, and his wife stepped out. All of the 400 divinities were disappointed and they were angry, but Orunmila was dancing and rejoicing. Ifa says, we will marry a woman, everyone will try to twist us and turn us, and they will conspire against us. But we should not be afraid. We will marry the woman. Whatever, whoever conspires against us, they will not succeed as long as we have Ifa, as long as we follow his footsteps, his injunction, his instruction. Ashe, Ashe. Oh. Now, something else about Dafa. So now he's going back into the explanation of Dafa after giving this very interesting essay. Ifa. Now, something else about Dafa. These verses of Odus, we do not just pick out of a hat. When we do Dafa, there are a series of prayers, etc., that are done. Then we go to Ifa or Orunmila. He is the God of wisdom. He is called the Ileri Ipin, witness to creation, witness to faith. Remember, I said that we all chose to come here and knew what was our destiny before coming. Well, Ifa or Orunmila, was there when we chose to come. Therefore, he knows what is our destiny. And he is the God of divination. So we go to him. And during the divination process, he gives us the Odu that pertains to the person who is having the reading done. The Iromole Odu experienced everything that we could ever experience. So the solutions are in the Odu. When I do a reading, an Odu will come. This Odu would speak of what is going on in this person's life, past, present, and future. Ifa Orisa is also the one who knows the beginning as well as the end of all things. Therefore, we can find the answer and solution to whatever is going on in our life. When a person gets Dafa, it will come in one of two ways in what is called Ire, which is good fortune, or Iyawo, which is opposition. If it comes Ire, we will determine what is the Ire, whether it is money, long life, victory, marriage, or honor, etc. If it comes as Ayiwo, we will determine what is the opposition to obtaining the blessings. All Odus contain blessing, but sometimes there is opposition to the blessings, which might be death, sickness, poverty, or loss. However, whichever way it comes, there is a remedy. If it comes in Ire, there are things that have to be done to secure the Ire. If it comes as a Yawo, there are things that have to be done to circumvent the opposition. This is called Ebo or sacrifice. It could be anything from a cool glass of water to an animal. The Ebo goes to the Orisha who will take care of whatever it is. Oshun, as mentioned before, is an Orisha deity. She is a river deity, but she concerns more, much more. So if you had Dafa done and it said this and that, we should determine to which Orisha do we go to either secure the blessing or to remove the opposition. Hence, the Ebo goes to the Orisha. There is a saying in Ifa, there is no problem on earth that the Ifa does not have a solution for. That being said, we do not have to guess about what is happening in our lives or why. And the answer to our prayers do not have to be hit and miss. There is surety in what we do. With all that being said, there are obligations to getting DAFA. Once you know you are responsible, if you get a reading, you are then responsible to have the EBO done. If your reading says, that is, you have untold wealth coming, but you need to do this and that, you are then responsible to have it done by the priest, or what could possibly happen is just the opposite. The God of the crossroad, or the one who brings all things together, the messenger of the Orisha, is called Eshu. And when one gets a reading, he is present. And if you do what is told, he will make sure what is supposed to be done gets done. However, on the other hand, If you get a reading and then refuse to do what is to be done, he will also make sure whatever is the misfortune to come, he makes sure it comes. With that being said, it is important to know that Eshu does not do this out of malice. It is designed to teach us character. Eshu's job is to build us and to teach us what is right. So when we fail to do what we are to do, he reminds us in sometimes not so some he reminds us in sometimes not so pleasant a way. Last thing said, an Ifa priest is supposed, for the most part, if possible, to be that an Ifa, just that, an Ifa priest. So there are certain monies that are exchanged so that the priest can eat, be clothed, pay bills, etc. So Dafa has a fee as well as Ebo. Hope that helps you understand. There is much more that could be said, but perhaps at another time that will be shared. Ire Ifa Leye. All right. Isentai was mentioned. It is a ritual. It was mentioned very early in the reading. It is a ritual that is performed to welcome the child on its arrival in Aye. What it also does is it reminds the parents of their obligations in assisting the child in the child's fulfillment of its destiny. Our destiny is very important because this is what we agreed to come to IE to do. So, despite the fact that once we get here, we forget, having a DAFA done is essential so that we can realign ourselves with our true purpose. All right. Associated with the DAFA is also what is called Ebo or sacrifice. We live in a universe that operates with fixed principles. And one of them is that you get nothing for nothing. Everything comes at a price. The term sacrifice connotes that we pay a price in order to have the things that we want. Sacrifice could come in various forms. It may come in the most complicated form, and it could come in the simple way of fasting. So there are many, many different ways that a person could actually make a sacrifice. All right. So with that, I would like to close today's lesson, and I would like to invite the viewers or whosoever come in earshot of the stream to have these educational opportunities. The African Indigenous Tradition Community meets every Tuesday where we have Ifa Orisa classes at the Barataria Community Center at 5 p.m. This is on 6th Avenue opposite the recreation ground. These are actual classes where Baba Ifawole as well as myself would be there providing these Ifa Orisha classes. Beside the African Indigenous Tradition Community, we have programs just like this one. Today's show is the Ifagbemiro Show. We also have on a Sunday the traditional herbal health show at 5 p.m. On a Friday, we have Ifa Orisa tradition community discussion at 6:30. And we also have virtual classes on a Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. We have astrology class, and on a Friday at 5 p.m. we have etymology. At the moment, there are no astrology, no etymology classes, and I would like all the viewers to know that this program is a non-commercial, we are a non-sponsored program, as a result of which we are at liberty to discuss whatever we choose. So, for persons who might be interested and have questions, this would be the ideal forum for them to ask any question concerning Ifa Orisha for which they would like to have an explanation. Now, these live streams can be viewed on several social media platforms on Facebook. It can be viewed at the Ifa Orisha Tradition Discussion Group. It could be viewed on the Ifagbemiro Home of Ifa Orisa Tradition. It could also be viewed on the Ifa Orisa Community Congress. It could also be viewed on the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network. It can also be viewed on the Ifa Orisa Institute of Sacred and Divine Sciences. It could also be viewed on the Ifa Orisa Tradition Teaching Group of Trinidad and Tobago. It could be viewed on the Ifa Orisa Small and Medium Business Alliance. It could be viewed on the Traditional Herbal Health Network International, as well as on the African Indigenous Tradition Community page. Beside these pages, we are also on YouTube, where we can be reached at the Ifagbemiro Home of Ifa Orisa Tradition. All right. I forgot two social media groups. One is the Orisha Baptist Teaching Moments International and the Ianti Diasporic Venture. All right. With that, I would like to say Udabo, and I would like to encourage viewers to like, share, and subscribe. All right. So see you next week. Udabo.